Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a terrific day for Delaware State University. And I am pleased to welcome you all here. My name is Tony Allen, the proud president of Delaware State University. You are here, or we are here rather, at our Kirkwood Highway facility, run by the great Dean Patrice Gilliam Johnson, who runs our graduate and continuing studies program and does an exceptional job for Delawareans throughout the state. I'm also pleased to be joined by, I think, the best congressional delegation in the nation, Senator Thomas R. Carper, Senator Chris A. Coons, I got the A right, and Congresswoman Lisa Blunt, Rochester. Let's just give them a quick round of applause for their help. We would not be here today without Newcastle County Executive Matt Meyer. I'll tell you that story a little later here, but Matt has been an exceptional friend to Delaware State University, and I can tell you will be a great advocate for what I believe is an innovative partnership that will extend itself in Delaware and beyond. Also pleased to be joined by one of my good friends, State Representative Kim Williams. Representative Williams, always good to see you. Newcastle County Councilman Tim Sheldon, and the new state senator, I think he's here, Spiros Matavinos. Senator, good to see you as well. Why are we here? Almost a year ago, I had to send all of my students home, except for 200, because of COVID-19. Think of those 200 as otherwise homeless. Literally without Delaware State University, they had no place to go. We kept them on campus, made sure they were getting all the services that they needed, but immediately began to think about not only their needs, but the students we sent home as well. I've said many times that for HBCUs in general, and Delaware State University in particular, these students are not just coming to have a quality college experience. They are literally coming to change their economic trajectory for themselves, their families, and their communities. So my team and I began to think very hard about how we could safely return as many students as possible in the fall of 2020. Enter Matt Meyer. Matt and I had talked about how Newcastle County could be supportive of Delaware State University. We kicked around a couple of ideas several times. And then he said, what about a full testing protocol for all your students, staff, and faculty? I said, that would be great. We have no money to pay for that. He said, what if we could figure out a way to do that as well? Enter Dr. Neil Hochstein and Dr. Joan Coker, a proud HBCU graduate herself, who came with the group called Testing for America. Testing for America literally was a very brand new nonprofit. And they both came to me and said two things. We want to safely return students like yours back to schools. We want to develop a testing protocol that you can rely on, and we want to help you fund it. We trusted them, and they delivered. Since we've been with Testing for America, 37,000 tests have been administered, 37,000. We've had a 0.5% positivity rate. I can tell you that the testing protocol at Delaware State University is literally among the best in the nation, and it has a very significant responsibility because of Newcastle County Executive Matt Meyer, Testing for America, Neil Hochstein, and Joan Coker. The congressional delegation. I can tell you that as COVID hit, like they always do, each of them called me individually and asked what could they do for the university. As the COVID pandemic raged on, the CARES Act was passed. And I can tell you that I had no less than 5 conversations per member of the delegation about what Delaware State would need. They also delivered $17 million for Delaware State University. Our losses we were anticipating were upwards of $20 million. With their help and our continued fundraising efforts, we were able to safely return 75% of our student population. That's the Delaware way. And as usual, Delawareans never stop thinking. So as we got into the testing phase itself, Dr. Derek Scott, Dr. Scott, if you would just stand real briefly, one of our great biological sciences professors, said, what if we could create our own testing lab? Have the opportunity to test our faculty, staff, and students ourselves, create less turnaround time, and really build capacity. We talked again to Testing for America, our Newcastle County executive, Matt Meyer, and they invested in us. Today, we have the Delaware State University Genomics Lab. That genomics lab administered its first test 2 days before Christmas. They are now delivering 50 tests a day for most of our student athletes. That will ramp up to literally 1,200 tests a day in about 3 weeks. And then we will exponentially ramp up from there. The great news about that is we expect that this just won't be for Delaware State University, but for citizens throughout the state of Delaware and for some other sister HBCU institutions. My friends, we have created something special because of the leaders that are with me today, the great mind of Dr. Derek Scott, and the commitment and grit of a great institution. I hope you're all very, very proud. With that, I'd like to welcome Newcastle County Executive Matt Meyer, and now an honorary Hornet.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Allen. You know, Dr. Allen forgot to thank one person, essential to all of us being here today, whose visionary leadership of this institution for 12 months, 16 months, 18 months, I think all of us look and just say is simply extraordinary. The benefit that not only your students, faculty, and staff and alumni, but really the whole state, the HBCU community across the country and across the world is really benefiting from your leadership. And thank you for that. I know this job is exactly what you were expecting when you took the job. And that leadership is noticed and appreciated, so thank you. You know, it's almost cliche to talk about how excruciatingly painful the past 10 months have been for our community and for our country. The reality is, once the history of this pandemic is written, the headline, or one headline, may in fact be the speed with which science attacked this virus. Testing for COVID-19 was developed in historic time that when you look at past pandemics, it took months or years to develop the testing that it took days to develop. Vaccines, plural vaccines that we all know now work, developed in months, whereas in the past it took years or decades. And much of that process started with the mapping of the virus genome, the mapping of the DNA, a little over a year ago in early January. And the machinery they used, the trick to mapping that genome within hours, rather than within months or years or decades, was a piece of Illumina brand machinery. And now, across the hall from us, Delaware State University has nearly identical machinery to that machinery used to set us on a course that's really making history. Right here on Kirkwood Highway, right here at the Wilmington campus of Delaware State University. You know, we at the county in mid-March sat down and set forth 3 goals for attacking this pandemic, working with Councilman Tim Sheldon and County Council. The first goal was to eradicate the virus. The second goal was to protect the most vulnerable. And the third was to bring jobs back to the county, make sure that the county community that resulted was in fact better than the one before, what the president now calls building back better. 3 goals: eradicate the virus, protect the most vulnerable, and build back better. When Dr. Hochstein and Dr. Coker brought this idea before me, it took us about 30 seconds to realize that this checked all 3 boxes. That we're taking a dramatic step forward here today to both eradicate the virus, protect the most vulnerable, and build back better. While it was extraordinary for us to immediately ramp up testing in the county, I think it was noticed by myself and Governor Carney, A.J. Shaw, the director of DEMA, that we were spending an extraordinary amount of money, tens of millions of dollars each month out of state on laboratories to make sure that there was fast, efficient testing in our county. And thanks to the leadership of Dr. Scott and Dr. Allen, we can now say that at least some of that testing, an increasing amount of testing, will happen right here at Delaware State University, enabling us to take these precious federal funds that Senator Carper, Senator Coons, and Representative Blunt Rochester made sure was brought home to Newcastle County. We can make sure that those funds stay here, that they create jobs here, that they develop talent right here. This has been an extraordinary team effort. We have done in weeks what in any other time would have taken years. I'm sure if we sat down in any other time and said, let's create a high throughput, world-class genomics lab, we would create a 10-year plan to do that. And I think we did it in about 10 weeks. So thank you. On the county's team, key to that effort was Will Davis, our county attorney, because there is quite a bit of legal work that goes into this. Max Williamson, who's standing in back, who I don't think has even graduated college yet, who pushed this thing forward. And of course, Lucretia and Dr. Scott and so many others who I don't know, Patrice Gilliam Johnson here at the Wilmington campus, who did amazing work to make sure that this effort makes it through to fruition. There are 3 tremendous opportunities of this lab. One that we're talking about today is more efficient testing. The opportunity for us to get even faster, less expensive, and it might reduce the cost by something like 6 or 7-fold. More efficient testing right here at Delaware State University. It also offers us other benefits, turning a crisis into tremendous opportunities for the future. We hope there is never a virus, never a pandemic again, but to say that would indeed be naive. So we are more prepared now as a community, as a county community, with this laboratory here. That same machine, that mapped the genome in China a little over a year ago, we can now do that here the next time we detect some strange virus in our sewage or in someone's blood. In addition, even without a pandemic, as Dr. Hochstein has taught me, this enables us to have extraordinary diagnostic health tools for today and tomorrow. As one medical doctor explained to me, when you go to the doctor now, they say, you know, what's your medical history? What health problems have mom, dad, grandma, grandpa have? What this machinery, one thing this machinery enables us to do is you can look at your specific DNA. So we can identify specific markers, specific warnings, specific issues of concern. So cancers and all sorts of maladies can be detected earlier than ever before. So right here at Delaware State University, you're going to help keep our county, the state, and the entire region healthier. So thank you for that. You know, chemistry teaches us the more energy you put into a bond, the harder it is to break. The more energy you put into a bond, the harder it is to break. This crisis has forced us all to put so much energy into working together in ways that we never thought of before. It has forced us to team up, with Delaware State University and county government to put more energy into that relationship than has ever been done before. And as we look forward, let us recognize that so many of these bonds we created are now unbreakable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Executive. I do want to take a 1 minute to publicly thank our Chief Enterprise Risk Officer, our General Counsel, and I probably have 3 other jobs for her, Lucretia Maltry. Lucretia, if you would just stand up. She's been chairing the Delaware State's COVID response team, and she's done a yeoman's job. There's an old adage, when it should becomes a must, human beings do extraordinary things. When it should becomes a must, human beings do extraordinary things. This next set of individuals, these leaders, are simply extraordinary. I've had the opportunity to know all of them no less than 20 years. They are Americans of faith, community, and conscience, and they think about Delaware every day. And their results, and they are always focused on results, have been beneficial for all Delawareans and certainly for Delaware State University. We'll go in order of seniority. From now you'll hear Senator Carper, Senator Coons, and as I've said many times, and I'm proud to say, the first African American and first woman to be elected to Congress from the state of Delaware, Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester.
When the president says we're going in order of seniority, he means we're saving the best to last. Teamwork makes the dream work. And we've heard Matt, and we've heard our president mention the word team probably 5 or 6 times so far this morning. And teamwork really does make the dream work. It's an extraordinary dream, an extraordinary accomplishment, and great leadership from the 2 of you, and great participation from others that are in the room and some that are not. Patrice, to you, to Derek, Dr. Hochstein, others have been played a role. Our thanks and congratulations. Senator Coons and Congresswoman Rochester and I have helped shape and pass legislation to confront this coronavirus and sums of money I never, ever imagined. I was privileged to be elected state treasurer in the state when I was 29, and we had what we thought was a pretty large budget deficit. I think it was about $1 million. And we passed legislation. We talk about legislation these days because Chris and Lisa know, like $1 trillion. $1 trillion. These are just extraordinary sums of money. I'd like to stand before you and say that all that money's been well spent. It's probably not. Hopefully the lion's share of it has been, but this is money well spent. It's a great investment. It's going to pay terrific rewards for our state and a lot of folks who don't even know how to spell DSU. Don't even know. But the world's learning how to spell DSU. Tony, I remember when I was 28, 29 years old, I worked on the Delaware State College campus and for what became Delaware Economic Development Office before I ran for state treasurer. And remember going to early graduations at Delaware State College. And boy, the folks the pioneers for Delaware State, they would be just so proud of how far Delaware State has come. I wanted to digress just for a minute. I don't know about the rest of you. I was thinking about driving over how cold it was going to be outside, and how windy it was going to be outside, how miserable it was going to be outside. I just want, in addition to thanking all those other people I've already thanked, I just want to thank whoever thought about bringing this event inside. We've been through a tough time in the last year. We've been through the tough time over the last several years, and I think we're coming out of it. One of the I don't know if we have anybody here who's old enough to remember Pearl Harbor. I'm not, but when we were bombed that day on December 7th, 1941, our president was a guy named Roosevelt, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He used that as an opportunity to unite our country, not divide our country, but to unite our country, and he did. When we were attacked on 9/11, 3,000 Americans died. We were on our heels as a nation, and President George W. Bush used that as an opportunity not to divide a nation, but to unite a nation in common cause. This is a Pearl Harbor, this is a 9/11 challenge of the same magnitude. And the challenge for us is to have leadership who unite us, not divide us, and pull us together to appeal to our better instincts and make us stronger by pulling together. The toll on our country for the last year has been staggering in terms of loss of life. The Vietnam veteran I used to talk about, when the death toll was rising, I would compare it to how many names are on the Vietnam Memorial Wall in Washington, D.C. It's 58,000. And we've gone past that, and now more people have died in this war than died in, as I recall, in in all of World War II on our side, all of World War II. Some people are concerned about loss of smell, loss of taste, but what the real loss is here is loss of lives and loss of hopes and dreams. The response of the last administration is not just disappointing, I think it borders on criminal. And instead of being guided by science, blinded by science, instead of embracing science, technology, demeaning it, mocking those who believe in wearing masks and social distancing. The last administration's gone, and we have a new team. We have new leadership, and fortunately we have a delegation that, and folks here, and Matt, and certainly our President, Governor John Carney, who know a thing or two about pulling people together and working in common cause. I'd like to say there's a silver bullet to beat this pandemic. And there's probably not a silver bullet. There's a number of silver BBs. Some of them are bigger than others. And one of the biggest, of course, we talk a lot about late is vaccine. Another big one, and on that score, we have the Pfizer vaccine, a double shot deal. We have the Moderna vaccine, a double shot deal. And any day now, we're going to get the green light from the FDA, and we'll see the ramp up of production of the third vaccine from Johnson & Johnson. And about 3 or 4 miles from here, we have the North American headquarters of an outfit called AstraZeneca. And they're knocking on the door with a different kind of vaccine that will cost about $3 or $4 a vaccine, easy to make. They're already producing millions of doses. And when that comes online, they'll not be making 10 million or 100 million. They'll be making billions, and not just for the U.S., but for the world. That is the game changer, and we've got to get there. I think of terms sometimes of 1-2 punches. The one punch is the vaccine, and the second punch is the testing. They work together. And the holy grail for us in testing is something that's really akin to a pregnancy test. Highly reliable, affordable, convenient, easy to administer. And that's easy to say all those things, but it's a lot harder to get there. But that's where we need to go. And with this announcement today and the great collaboration that we celebrate, it brings us a whole lot closer. Close with this. There's a guy who used to build cars. We used to build a lot of cars in this state, as Chris and Lisa will recall. Big Chrysler plant, 4,000 employees. Big GM plant, real close to here, 4,000 employees. Never had a Ford plant. But there's a guy named Henry Ford who, his father, Model T, they built millions and millions of Fords. I've owned one, you probably have too. Henry Ford used to say these words: if you think you can, or you think you can't, you're right. Think about that. If you think you can, or you think you can't, you're right. And with the kind of teamwork, smarts, resources that we have present in this room and present in this endeavor, I think we can. And I think we will. Thank you so much. God bless you.
do want to just raise 2 points. One, Senator Carper talked a bit about the pioneers that changed Delaware State College to Delaware State University. He is one of those pioneers. He was the governor at the time that Delaware State College changed to Delaware State University. Delaware State College was a terrific, largely teachers college. Delaware State University is an R2 comprehensive research university with a $26 million portfolio. So I want to thank you for your vision as well. And to Senator Coons, I failed to mention this initially. Senator Coons is now the co-chair of the bipartisan HBCU caucus in Congress. And he works directly with the likes of Representative Alma Adams, who is a terrific friend of Delaware State University, Senator Tom Scott and others. He and Senator Carper and Congressman Rochester were leaders in the Partners Act that is creating new opportunities for HBCUs with the federal departments in the country, and is just a real friend. So before I bring him up, I just want to say they are very interested largely in colleges and universities, particularly in our community, but their emphasis on HBCUs should not be understated, and I'm proud to bring them all up, but certainly Senator Coons in his new role. Senator Coons.
Well, thank you, Tony. Thank you, Dr. Allen. I could not be more excited for this morning's announcement and to get to see the state-of-the-art Thermo Fisher and Illumina equipment that is now working to help deliver high-quality, high-fidelity, high-speed testing for Delaware State University, the state of Delaware, and to benefit our whole region. This is the best possible example of what happens when a team of talented Delawareans of all backgrounds, skills, and strengths come together to be terrific stewards of federal dollars. So first, to County Executive Matt Meyer, who received a significant allocation of CARES Act funding and has done creative and innovative and compelling things with it. Thank you for your great stewardship. To Dr. Tony Allen, who, whether you are leading the Presidential Inauguration Committee, an incredible challenge in a time of COVID, or leading this initiative and others at Delaware State University, your leadership continues to impress, challenge, and inspire all of us. To my congressional delegation colleagues, it has been a remarkable year. It's often said that when God closes a door, he opens a window. I remember it was exactly during the HBCU week final session where Senator Scott and I were addressing a room full of presidents of HBCUs. I had just come from a classified briefing on the scope and speed and lethality of the spread of the pandemic. Most of us had not yet grasped what was happening. And the last thing I said to a room full of presidents was, have you made plans for what will happen when you have to close down your campuses and send your students home? And I could see, sort of shock on people's faces, because this was a brand new concept that this pandemic, remember, we had a president at the time who was predicting it would go away in a few weeks, it would have no real lasting impact. We didn't really need to prepare for this. And it was at that moment just beginning to be clear to all of us that everything was going to shut down for a matter of weeks, if not months. And here we are nearly a year later. And with deadly new variants emerging, with a record number of Americans dying in some of the days of the last month, we in no way are clear of this. So what I am most excited about how our president, President Biden, has taken the helm is a focus on science, a focus on the work that wasn't done and needs to be done to deliver quality PPE to our frontline workers and teachers and people at all levels in our society, a job that was never really done in the first place. To deliver high quality, high fidelity, affordable testing to everyone, something that's been done better here in Delaware than in most states in the country, and to deliver the state-of-the-art vaccines that have newly been developed. We're spending trillions of dollars doing this. The most inspiring thing Congress did last year, in my view, and I'm not going to talk about the least inspiring things we did last year, but last March we came together and from scratch wrote an 800-page bill that spent $2.3 trillion, and it passed the Senate of the United States unanimously. So as I say to my Republican colleagues, as we are working to try and pass President Biden's bold package to respond to this pandemic, we know how to do it. when we want to. The question isn't whether we're in the middle of a crisis. We are. The question isn't whether we have a clear and competent, well-developed plan by the scientific and public health advisors to our new administration. We do. The question is, do we have the political will to deliver the resources our communities will invest? This is one of the great examples I look forward to holding up along with my congressional colleagues of what great investment can do. When Dr. Neil Hochstein and Dr. Joan Coker first sent to me the Testing for America vision, I was blown away. And as you heard before by the county executive, one of the most inspiring aspects of our nation's response to this crisis has been how nonpartisan folks who just wanted to put their skills to work came together to develop really breathtaking, innovative solutions to the challenges we all face. And one of the challenges those HBCU presidents faced when we were speaking now just about a year ago was, how will we possibly find the resources to retool and reimagine delivering education? I have 3 kids in college at 3 different universities, and I will tell you, those 3 institutions with very different resources and very differently configured have struggled to manage this pandemic, have had very different responses. But nowhere in our nation, nowhere in our state is our obligation to work together creatively to make the path towards education and opportunity clearer than with America's historic institutions like HBCUs. So I'm thrilled that we are about to see the fruit of the labor of a whole team of people. These remarkable outside advisors, professionals in health, really talented and skilled, and a really impressive couple. So to Dr. Derek and Latia Scott, who are with us today, who came up with the way that we could combine these visions, the resources that the county had available, the facility that Delaware State had available, the vision for how to deliver state-of-the-art testing and what a difference it would make and what its operational requirements were, and the vision to then build that here. Thank you for having all of that work together. And I can't yield the floor without also thanking Max Williamson, who just happens to be a neighbor of mine and a young man at MIT, who, having been the digital director of my reelection campaign, and not having anything to do after my reelection, threw himself into this and had a delightful and compelling experience figuring out how to connect a state, a university, a county, procurement rules, and lots of county code things. I'll say this, there are some wonderful and talented county employees, but getting all 3 of those things to sing from the same hymnal and have us here today was an impressive piece of work. So to Max, thank you for everything you did to help make this happen, and to the professionals who've worked for the state of Delaware, Delaware State University, and in Newcastle County, thank you. This is leaving behind a remarkable resource. One of the things that impresses me most about Delaware State University is the way it is now successfully competing in recent years for significant research grants from the National Science Foundation, from NASA, from NIH. And this remarkable couple successfully competed for and received a $750,000 grant in partnership with NIMBLE, the National Institute for Innovation in the Manufacturing of Biopharmaceuticals, that is headquartered at the University of Delaware, but literally stretches all over the country. We are in the middle of a pandemic crisis where manufacturing therapeutics and vaccines is exactly at the point of the spear in terms of our ability to respond in a timely fashion. And the National Institute that is organizing the next generation of manufacturing happens to be here in Delaware as well. As a new leader in the HBCU caucus and an appropriator, it is my challenge to deliver the resources to make sure that Delaware State doubles its research budget across all the different federal partners possible, and that this is just the first of a whole series of new centers where students at Delaware State University can learn the state-of-the-art techniques, materials, and skills to participate in bio, in pharma, and in other rapidly growing industries in our region, delivering opportunity and solutions and answers. When God closes a door, he opens a window. You have opened a window of opportunity, of hope, and of possibility for our community and our state and our country. Thank you. You have all genuinely inspired me today, and I'm particularly grateful for those of you who've taken of your skill and talent and time, already working beyond all limits in health and education, and put it to this common and inspiring purpose. You're going to introduce Lisa, you want me to? I am thrilled to yield the floor that will eventually be taken by my colleague and friend, Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester.
I have so much to say about these three leaders, so I have to say a little bit about each of them. The tragic events of, unprecedented events of January 6th were no small event in American history. If you saw the reports, you would have seen one report where there was a praying woman, and that praying woman was Lisa Blunt Rochester, and I know her as a friend, sister, and I know that when she was speaking to God, she was praying for our country in a way that lots of folks just have not seen publicly. What you may not know is there's an old adage, faith without works is dead. Congresswoman Blunt Rochester is full of works. In fact, she is the founder and co-chair of the Future of Work Caucus in Congress. Congresswoman Blunt Rochester, I'm proud to tell you that 3 of the newest hires at the Delaware State University Genomics Lab are recent graduates of Delaware State University. So as I bring you up, I ask that you continue to pray and continue to do good work.
Thank you so much, President Tony Allen. I didn't expect that introduction, and this morning when I got up, I decided to put on a bracelet, and I decided I'm just going to reach in and see what comes out. And it was the word breathe. And this moment in our history is so powerful. I thought about what today signifies. And I'm going to try to be brief because my colleagues and my friends have really summed up the significance of the testing, of the partnerships, of all of this. But what really came to mind for me are the letters PPE. And we've all been talking about PPE and the need for it. And when I think about PPE, I think about Delaware State University, the people in this room, and how what it took to bring us to this day is problem solving. You saw a problem. You saw students, 200 students that may be homeless. We know we are trying to get teachers back into classrooms, employees back in the workforce. It's a problem. You saw a problem, and you worked to solve it. The second P is partnership. That's what this is really about. The dynamic duo of Dr. Hochstein and Dr. Coker, who partnered with an incredible university, and Dr. Tony Allen. We provided the resources. Meyer provided the opportunity. Partnerships. And the last is E, for excellence. Because that's what Delaware State University is about, excellence. That's what Delaware is about. We are now a model for the nation. This created a playbook that other HBCUs and universities will be able to use around the country. It's faster, the testing at this lab. It's less expensive, costs less. I heard estimates of from $55 to $5 to $8. Again, that's what Delaware is about. That's what this project is about. That's why it's an exciting day. And so for those of us who have the privilege and the honor of serving with legislators like the ones in this room and the county executive, it's our job to do our job. And so what we commit to you today is not only did we fight to get those CARES dollars, but we're going to fight with Joe Biden to get the American Rescue Plan delivered to the American people so that we can have more resources for you. And Tony clapped, and I think you all should clap. Tony knows where to get money. And so I will just say I am proud, I am honored to be part of the team. And I will also say that I am proud, Dr. Scott, of your work. I am proud of this entire team. And I'm proud of the students, because we haven't talked a lot about the students of Delaware State University who jumped in and made sure that this was a reality and who also were responsible. Were responsible. That's why that rate of testing was so low, because they were responsible. So I thank you. I'm glad to be a part of this. I'm ready to keep working. As you can see, I'm wearing 2 masks. So thank you, and let's go see the product. I forgot to say that Tony Allen is taking Tom Carper's place as the hardest working man in Delaware.
That's impossible. So finally, you've heard a lot about Dr. Hochstein and Dr. Joan Coker. If you know Dr. Joan Coker's mother, B.B. Coker, you know that when she wants something done, no is not an option. I can tell you that in any great project, there's always folks who are glue. Testing for America, Dr. Neil Hochstein, Dr. Joan Coker have been the glue to all of this. And I am very, very proud of them. I've known Joan for many, many years, consider her a sister and a dear friend. But I've only known Neil since the spring. And his heart and his intellect are of significant consequence to our university, our state, and dare I say, our nation. I'm proud to call you now brother and friend, Dr. Neil Hochstein.
Thank you, President Allen. It's been a long year. Thank you all for being here today. I mean, it's really a pleasure to see this lab opening. This is something I envisioned back in April, and I really can't believe we're here. You know, my wife and I are practicing physicians, and in March, we were terrified. We didn't have personal protective equipment, the virus is invisible, and testing was the only way we could shine a light on this invisible enemy. And that's what led me here, to figure out how can we help? How do we roll up our sleeves and participate? My neighbor and my partner in practice, Dr. Joan Coker, and I were walking our dogs, and she started talking to me about how are HBCUs going to weather this storm. And I said, let me get back to you on that. And with County Executive Meyer and an op-ed he wrote, I just started thinking about what can we do, and here we are today. You know, this is a scary time. We're increasingly sharing our environment with the animal kingdom. And the COVID pandemic that we're experiencing, it's not an aberration. You know, we've called this a once-in-a-century pandemic. But since the Spanish flu of 100 years ago, in our recent history, we've experienced multiple frightening zoonotic pathogens: AIDS, SARS, MERS, H1N1, Ebola, and now COVID-19. And in fighting these frightening pathogens, we have 4 weapons. We have personal protective equipment, we have testing, we have therapeutics, and fortunately now we have vaccines. But until we have herd immunity, Delaware State University has proven that testing is the best tool to keep society safe and open, along with PPE. And they've done it. They've kept their campus open with 37,000 tests and a less than 0.5% positivity rate through the fall semester. And in opening this lab,
DSU will increase access to testing resources and simultaneously drive the cost of testing down, not just for its campus community, not just for other HBCUs, but for Newcastle County, for our state, and for our region. And finally, bringing these testing resources to our local community, it not only serves to keep us safe now, but it brings resources to our region that will modernize medicine, bringing genomics and gene sequencing here today that are going to help us identify the variants of COVID that are spreading and that we're reading about and that are likely in our community, and we don't even know. And so this lab is going to help us do those things that we need so much. These new resources prepare us not only for what we're facing now, but what we unfortunately will likely face in the future with other zoonotic pathogens. So, you know, this is wonderful for Delaware State. It's wonderful for our region, for our families, and I'm so privileged to be a part of it, and I'm so privileged to now be a part of the Delaware State community. Thank you. I can't wait to tour the lab.
Okay, that concludes the program. I think what we're going to do now is brave the weather outside, cut the ribbon, and then we'll have an opportunity to tour the lab. Thank you all for coming.